the reality. And the fascinating thing about
your car, though.
Piers,
your game is like nobody's empathetic because children are starving.
We are talking about
what that's really about.
Today we have the Vanguard exposing Ana Kasparian and Jillian Michaels. Ana Kasparian has been on the Jillian Michaels podcast and is making her shift into right-wing media. The Vanguard's calling it out. Let's get into it.
Clip from Piers Morgan. God, I'm like, who the fuck are you? This lady, like, I know who she is. She's the biggest loser or whatever. I'm like, why are, like, just because she started a YouTube channel doesn't mean we have to take her seriously. Why are you now on a panel with Sam Cedar? What gives you the right? But anyway, let's take a look.
The feeding starving children thing is such a freaking red herring. So first of all, the vast majority of this USAID bloat and corruption does not go to that. Second of all, we have children starving here in America. But third of all, and what you don't know, and so you're like, oh, there's children starving in Africa. But really, it is about billions of dollars going to big ag. That's what that's really about. And I've seen it firsthand when I went to South Sudan and stayed at a refugee camp.
I've been to South Sudan and I've held black babies, okay? And I don't care if they starve.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know a ton about the U.S. aid program, but from what I heard, like, she's kind of right in the sense that, yeah, it's not really about just like the humanitarianism. It's not necessarily true. It's not just like, oh, we care so much about starving kids. But what she is kind of right about, that's actually not a terrible thing, is that it is sort of a handout or a subsidy to American farmers, agriculture in this country, who many of which rely upon that subsidy in order to stay in business, in order to keep their American farm in business. And then it's actually kind of a cool thing because then the food that they're growing does go to starving children in Africa and other countries. But it's a way to keep American farmers in business and then also provide some of their product to parts of the world that are dealing with like poverty and famine and stuff like that. Obviously, then there's also the element of USAID, which is like American, CIA influence and meddling and stuff like that, which I do not approve of. But it is not necessarily a bad thing to subsidize American farmers and agriculture.
No, in fact, yeah, you can find corruption and problems in any single one of the United States organizations. But what she's so cavalier about.
And for those not up to date in this space, Jillian Michaels was on the Piers Morgan show a few days ago, debating with Sam Cedar. And as we know, Ana Kasparian has been on the Jillian Michaels show in the past. And Cenk Uygur actually made an appearance a few days ago, I believe, on the Jillian Michaels show.
It's the fact that people are going to starve to death. And by no stretch of the imagination is that a lie. It's right here, clear as day. Life-saving programs disappearing as a result of the USAID funding cuts, right? Health groups and officials warn the Trump administration cuts could catch hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths. Here are 7 global health threats that will be affected by the cuts. We don't have to read every single one of them, but 7, okay? Polio, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, okay? Lots of preventable diseases, but Gavin is 100% correct here. She wants to talk about how it's all big ag that's receiving the funding. That's absolutely not true, right? I would love it nothing more if we said, instead of funding big ag, we're going to fund even more local American farmers because they cannot survive in a global economy, guys. Like, it shouldn't have to be explained to people, right? And I know that you guys understand that. That's why you're watching us. But just for posterity, if you stumble upon the show, guess what? In America, it costs way more to grow a head of cabbage than it does in Vietnam. I was just in Vietnam. I had the good fortune of traveling over there. Beautiful country. Probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my entire life. Kindest people you'll ever meet and some of the most delicious food you'll ever eat. Guess what? When I ate a banh mi sandwich from there, it was probably 50,000 dong. That's like 2 USD. You know what I mean? Very cheap to get it from a street vendor. Do you think I could grow and manufacture all the ingredients in America to make a banh mi for $2 and then still be able to feed myself and have a roof over my head? Absolutely not, right? So it would be unfair for the guy that grew carrots in Vietnam to be forced to compete with the guy that grows carrots in California. That's why we have to subsidize the way our food is grown, because it's not fair for me to charge a guy 18 weeks worth of wages for a head of carrots or for a thing of carrots in Vietnam, or fair to charge the guy, $25,000 for all of his carrots that he grew in a day here in America. That's why a global economy doesn't work without global planning. Okay. That's why we have problems with global capitalism. That's why it demands poverty. Okay. Jillian Michaels doesn't have a single instinct that would allow her to even begin to process all of that. Her brain power is inadequate. But these are all the things that you have to understand and discuss if you want to unpack politics for a living. But instead,
And these are all great things that Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur could have brought up on the Jillian Michaels show whenever they were talking to her. But instead, they go on there and the people please. They talk bad about, oh, the far left has all these issues, instead of maybe having a discussion that they don't agree on, that they may have a conflict, and be able to educate each other on the topics at hand, on why one person may see it this way, why another, But that doesn't happen. It's just people pleasing and grifting.
She wants to repeat a talking point she heard on her old podcast a week ago and try and say it to somebody else's face. It makes her look like a soulless ghoul, which she is, right? But what we have to talk about is that just because the United States U.S. aid has been used to embed ourselves in other countries and undermine them doesn't mean it doesn't save thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. And when you go in and you start to do a surgery with a fucking kitchen knife instead of a scalpel, you're going to kill your patient, right? And that's essentially what happens with Donald Trump. Even when he rhetorically says something that might be true, he goes in with a butcher knife instead of a fucking razor blade, or better yet, with an incisor that you could do with a laser like we do in real 21st century surgeries, okay? And he fucks the whole thing up, and he sacrifices the lives of children that don't need to die. And he has disgusting, pathetic propagandists like this lady go on national television and try and launder his reputation as a result of it. Disgusting.
Oh yeah, it's completely disgraceful. And with no riz either. She just comes off like a screeching fucking Karen or something. I'm like, who the fuck would actually want to listen to this woman give her analysis? But let's listen to the rest of this, and then we'll take a look at Ana Kasparian's response on Twitter to Matt Leck, who again is the producer of the Majority Report.
I can't.
Well, listen, it's not my card. It's just simply the reality. And the fascinating thing
It
about
is your
this,
car, though.
Piers,
Your game is like
that
nobody's empathetic
we are
because
talking
children are
about-
starving.
we are
When
talking
that's
about
not what
US
it's
aid.
really about.
Big fan.
You
This
didn't
guy's
seem-
laughing.
Yeah, and you didn't seem very fucking empathetic. Like, the reason he's acting that way is because you're acting like a soulless fucking bitch. I'm sorry, but she is. She's not acting empathetic at all about, yes, the reality of the situation. It's not just a card to play. It's not just like a, virtue signal to point out that, yeah, these programs, which were sending food to starving children in Africa, if they don't exist anymore, those kids will starve to death. They will die. That's not a card to play. It's not emotional manipulation to point it out. It's the fucking reality of the situation. Either way, Matt was 100% correct to point out that this is nasty work pandering to people.
And if you're enjoying this so far, make sure to like and subscribe for more recaps.
Like her, Anna responds and says, "Hey, Matt, maybe spend a little less time policing who I can converse with. It's fucking weird." Which is hilarious because obviously it goes without saying that if Ana Kasparian had gone on Jillian Michaels' show to debate her or to shut down the propaganda, obviously Matt Leck would not have scolded her over that. Like, clearly the substance of the criticism is not just that she conversed with Jillian Michaels, it's how she did that.
Yeah, 100%. And also, this is what you say when you have nothing. She's got nothing. This is the most tired response. It's not even funny. You're way better off just not responding at all if you don't have something funny to say. Anna doesn't understand the laws of the internet, okay? You have to be humorous. You have to be likable. You have to have something going for you. You can't just be like, I know you are, but what am I? It was the most backyard. I have been defeated in the dozens. Oh, it's really weird. You're so obsessed with me. Why are you so obsessed with me? And it's like, LOL, that's called a joke. I made a joke about you. I made a joke at your expense because what you do and how you behave, that's humiliating, right? So it's not weird, actually. It's funny. And you used to have a large platform, and now you've circled the drain.
So there we have it, you guys. We have the Vanguard. They're calling out Ana Kasparian. They're going to continue. They don't really let up on Ana Kasparian whatsoever. Cenk Uygur, none of them at the Young Turks. And, Ana Kasparian's hanging out with Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels clearly doesn't know what she's talking about. Grifter. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.